Hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Postian. I'm the board president of RISE International. On behalf of the entire board of directors, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2020 benefit, It Begins with the School. Before we go further, I made an announcement a few moments ago, and some people were graciously letting us know that they couldn't hear us. And so I apologize about that. We are competing with the wonderful video, but basically my message was we have people joining us from all over the country and frankly all over the world this evening. So if you'd like to take a moment during the course of our presentation, please feel free to put in the chat where you're joining us from this evening. As we all know, 2020 has been a strange and unprecedented year. And I'd like to start by just saying that I hope you and your family and friends are healthy, safe, and well. The global pandemic has challenged all of us and led to many firsts. That includes tonight, the first virtual benefit for RISE. I certainly missed the opportunity to connect, to see, to meet some new people at the annual benefit that we usually host in person. But there are some cool aspects about this being a remote and virtual event as well. We have people joining from Chicago, from Arizona, from St. Thomas, and even, yes, from Angola. We have people joining us live this evening from Angola. Looking at the time, it's about 1 a.m. there. So I would say that's some pretty incredible dedication. Thank you to everybody. Whether this is your first benefit, you're in Chicago or Angola, we're very thrilled that you're here with us this evening. Before moving forward in the program, I wanted to offer one more opportunity for a first for us tonight. If you'd like to take a couple photos of your watch party and send them to rise@riseinternational.org, we will create social media posts highlighting the creative and unique ways people have come together with family and friends to celebrate, to join us this evening, and of course, raise some money for a really important cause. Again, if you'd like to send those pictures, please send them to rise@riseinternational.org. I'd like to now spend a moment on a brief history of Angola and RISE International, and I do mean brief, I promise you. For those who don't know, Angola was a Portuguese colony for 500 years. There was a fight for independence, which ended in 1975, but then led directly into a brutal and devastating 27-year civil war. The civil war ended in 2002, but during this time, there was incredible devastation and hardship, especially in the hard-to-reach rural areas, and specifically around infrastructure. RISE International wanted to be part of the solution, part of the rebuilding of the country. That started by visiting refugee camps in Namibia and Zambia, seeking out connections and relationships with Angolan refugees. However, there was an idea to be more sustainable, a longer lasting impact, and so RISE then shifted their focus to the construction of schools. Since 2003, RISE has built 188 schools, 960 classrooms, and as a result, over 135,000 kids go to school each year as a result of this work. RISE continues to be successful, not because we've done it alone. Absolutely not. We have incredible partnerships both here in the United States and of course in Angola. We could not do it alone. We are grateful for that. We are also committed to our mission to educate, to build, and empower. We are thrilled that each of you are here tonight and to continue this important work. Another thing that we wanted to highlight was we've had some questions. What's it like in Angola right now? What's it like for folks living through a global pandemic in Angola? We've created a short video to highlight just that. I hope you enjoy.
Here, the Kyla family at the beginning of their day, they're warming up after a cold night and at the same time preparing something for their breakfast.
Echapa ndiyongola mala bange batanga kakakala balindami lafetika kusonea de uate deshi tukwete bakwana tubasolesa lwa twabaisaka elilongiso tukasya okukebelela bali
In just a moment, Lynn Cole, Executive Director of RISE International, will be joining us. There will be a slideshow as part of her presentation. And one of those Zoom features that's a little funky is that if you have it on full screen, you won't be able to see her face. And so we know many of you will want to see her face in addition to the wonderful presentation. So if you're in full screen right now, you may want to exit out of full screen. Without further ado, it's my privilege to welcome Lynn Cole, Executive Director of RISE International.
We're delighted you've joined us in this new and different reality. I miss seeing many of you in person, yet a virtual event does allow us to connect from afar, and it's not all bad to attend from your home. The journey of RISE has been amazing, more than we ever could have imagined. It is ultimately the story of people working together to do something, to make a difference in the lives of others, both in the US and Angola. I'm grateful for those of you who've been part of RISE for years, and for those new to RISE, I'd like to share a bit of our story. Andrew, my late husband, was born, grew up, and is buried in Angola. He loved climbing trees to pick guavas and mangoes with Mordecai, swimming in the rivers, going after rabbits with his slingshot, and playing with the village kids. It was home. His family returned to the U.S. in 1966. 9 years later, a brutal 27-year civil war broke out, cutting off all communication. During a tentative peace in 1997, Andrew returned with his dad for what they thought would be a one-time visit. Deeply moved, he wanted to take me the following year to celebrate our 25th anniversary. It was an unusual destination. I had never been outside the U.S., never to a developing country, never to one in the midst of war. We spent time with friends in the capital and in the center of the country. Every building was marked by mortar rounds and bullet holes, with people living in the ruins. Carpenters were making tiny coffins. Tattered UNICEF tents were overflowing with the elderly and orphans. Children extended their hands pleading. The hospital had no medicine, no water, and 4 to 5 kids on each bed. The road to Andrew's childhood home was riddled with landmines, and so we walked several miles to Cholanda with a police escort. Eucalyptus trees and welcoming villagers lined the path. The mission was leveled, with only the remains of the school, health post, church, and their home. But most stirring were the people, their devastation and loss, their joy at seeing us and at being remembered. We witnessed the suffering, the injustice, and the overwhelming need. After another trip in October, the war escalated and we were unable to get visas. We had seen refugees pouring over the border in Eastern Europe on the news, assumed the same was true in Angola, and traveled to Namibia in September of 1999 looking for Angolan refugees. We found them at the Osiri refugee camp. We wanted to bring a few of our friends to get involved, and that actually led to a team of 19 people who traveled on the first pilgrimage of service in May of 2000, 20 years ago. Permission to enter a refugee camp, especially with 19 people, is complicated. Communication was by fax and landline, if you remember those days. In a long caravan we arrived, were stopped and questioned, and finally allowed to enter. Taken to a church made of sticks and brush, the greeting was beyond words. A campsite had been created for us. We stayed in tents, offered workshops, but most powerfully, we developed relationships. Osiri is where we met many lifelong friends, including Adriano Wambo and his family, now our Rise Angola country coordinator. While in Osiri, Andrew heard that the woman who cared for him as a boy was at another refugee camp. He was compelled to find her. A small team of 4 traveled to Nangweshi in western Zambia. They were shown around the newly established camp. Andrew asked person after person if they knew Dina. No one did. About to leave, they were approached by a woman who, upon hearing about their search, clasped her hand over her mouth. Dina was her niece and was at the camp. That began our involvement and relationships with many at Nangweshi and in Angola upon their return. Those that traveled began to meet at 6:30 a.m. on Saturdays, which not everybody was crazy about, and the African Refugee Committee was founded. When the war abruptly ended in 2002, a group sat in our living room and with our Angolan friends decided to focus on education. We changed our name to Rise International, and a plan to build simple mud block schools unfolded. While the government concentrated their efforts in urban areas, Rise responded to the emergency need in rural villages, bringing the hope, the opportunity for education to thousands of children who would not otherwise have the chance for years to come. Andrew dreamt of building a school at Cholanda, which became part of a pilot project to build 5 village schools. In 2003, a U.S. team traveled to help build the first. Local villagers had made huts for us to stay in. Amazing women joyfully cooked and washed our clothes. Relationships were formed as we worked side by side. The school was finished. Kids began to attend and are still attending. The 5 pilot schools were completed. Another 25 were added, with a vision for 75 more. And then 1 month after our July 2004 trip, Andrew died, age 50 and healthy, on August 12th. Married for 31 years, we did life together. How would we go forward, but how could we not? We are involved in something that matters. This is about kids and their right to education. RISE builds primary schools in rural Angola to educate children, empower communities, and contribute to the rebuilding of the country. We build critical infrastructure, a fundamental starting point, providing access to education for vulnerable and marginalized children. Kids who have been impacted by war and its aftermath live in poverty and face multiple barriers to education. Some children attend in makeshift classrooms, some meet under trees. Without a building, children learn in the hot sun, and if there is rain, cold, or wind, there is no class. Many walk long distances to attend. More than 2 million children do not have access to primary education. The building is foundational, providing safety and access, a critical variable affecting student morale and learning. At the request of those in Angola, the school design was changed in 2007 to a larger permanent structure. School sites are identified in collaboration with the local government and Ministry of Education. They provide desks, chalkboards, textbooks, set the curriculum, and hire and pay the teachers. Through the generosity of many in the U.S., local administrations, parents, and communities in Angola, and solid partnerships with BP, Educate a Child, and Exxon, 188 schools have been built, which have 960 classrooms, giving over 135,000 kids access to education each year. Truly a collaborative effort. Schools could not be built without our incredible Angolan leadership and teams. Everything in Angola is hard. RISE delegates decision-making and authority to RISE Angola. Adriano Wambo, along with our leadership teams, masterfully manage multiple projects. The approach is one of mutuality. We rely on their wisdom and insight. Jobs are created for which the building teams, teachers, and principals are truly grateful. RISE measures results, quantifying our work and impact. We have implemented a substantial monitoring and evaluation component to collect, track, analyze, and assess both student and school data. We continue to build and expand our database, and I want you to see a little video to demonstrate that. That is pretty amazing, isn't it? RISE has a solid reputation, established network, relationships, track record, and experience in a difficult place. We have successfully implemented our Schools for Angola program since 2003. The schools are turned over to the community and Ministry of Education upon completion and belong to them. They are responsible for ongoing oversight and maintenance and are empowered to carry the process forward. At our benefit last November, over $157,000 was raised to build a school at Villagrasa, where over 1,000 kids needed a classroom. I visited in late November. That was still possible then. Children watched with curiosity and excitement as our RISE Angola team laid out the foundation. Materials were delivered, construction began, and was completed in June. Schools have been closed since March and are to reopen in phases this month. So the beautiful 8-classroom school was dedicated on September 17th. The governor of BA cut the ribbon, administrators and Ministry of Education officials, RISE Angola, teachers, parents, students, and the community celebrated with masks, social distancing, and buckets for hand washing. There is no running water. They are excited for school and access to education. We believe that education matters, that every child should have the chance to go to school, and we have the unique opportunity to make that a reality for some. Enormous challenges remain, multiplied by the pandemic, but for thousands of kids that now have a school, a difference is being made. For them, it begins with a school.
What is a school? What does it really mean to have a school and access to education? A school is a safe, organized space for teaching and learning. It's a place to come together, a place that reflects the collaboration of students, teachers, parents, the community, and partners.
A school is a building, but it is much more than a structure. It is an opportunity. It provides hope and a future. Education is something that no one can take from you.
A new school is a symbol, a gift, in places where accessibility is limited or non-existent. And there is excitement, celebration, and immense gratitude. Every child has the right to education. Yet, Angolan children face many barriers. A history of conflict, oppression, poverty, lack of infrastructure, education, healthcare, and clean water. Some have makeshift classrooms or are under trees, carrying their own chair. Many have no school at all.
RISE gives a starting point, providing access to education. One child, one classroom, one school at a time.
RISE builds primary schools in rural Angola to educate children, empower communities, and contribute to the rebuilding of the country. A school building gives access and provides protection from rain, wind, and cold. Classrooms facilitate learning. Students are more engaged, able to concentrate, and focus on their studies. Children can learn, think, dream about their future.
A escola é importante porque é onde estamos a saber ler e escrever.
Para ajudar os outros, como eles estão doentes. Gostamos da sala.
De classrooms. O que mais?
As cadeiras, a pintura.
The college itself. Pintura.
As lâmpadas, as janelas,
Windows.
as portas.
The door.
All children deserve the chance to go to school, to have a seat in the classroom.
Everything begins to change with education. It is the foundation for improved health, economic growth, and social well-being, creating a ripple effect for years to come. Build a school. Educate a child. Empower a community. Build, educate, empower.
Hi all, my name is Adrian Wambu. I am the country director for RISE Angola, the implementing partner for RISE International in Chicago. I want to tell you shortly about the school at Bolonguela and the people. Bolonguela is a village located 6 kilometers from nearby town of Shongoroi and 216 from the provincial capital, Bengala. Since the Portuguese arrived in the country more than 5 centuries ago and left in 1975, the village had never had a school or any kind of education. Even after the war ended 18 years ago, no one dared to build a school at Bolonguela, as the access was difficult and impossible to bring in the supplies. Only now, the government decided to build a 7-classroom school, partnering with RISE. The community has felt forgotten for many years, but now they are very excited to see RISE coming and build a school. This excitement was reflected by a little boy, 10 or 12 years of age, offering food valued Angolan Kwanza 500, and 2 girls bring 2 chicken for our workers. They are really the first donors. The local administration pledged 60,000, but it whipped down to 45,000 US dollars due to the depreciation of the local currency, Kwanza. So far, they have contributed 23,000 US dollars, for which we are grateful. The construction has been going on despite the precaution with COVID-19. Our big team is living in the site, disconnected with the rest of their families. I visit the site to monitor the progress every other week. The economy is struggling to survive as most of materials are imported. They are scarce and expensive. We are committed to our job. If you join in, the better, as always. So, be part of this challenge and honor to give every child an opportunity to go to school, to sit in the classroom. Thank you for your gracious heart and donation.
It is so awesome to hear directly from Adriano. He is truly an incredible man and leading a group of dedicated people in Angola to really carry out the mission of RISE. I wanted to spend a moment now to actually speak to you all about the cost of a school. Because the size of schools vary, we think about the cost in terms of classrooms. And so, for example, a classroom costs $35,000. There's 50 kids that will attend that class in 2 shifts throughout a day, meaning that 100 students will have access to that classroom in any given day, which breaks down to $350 per child. The classroom life has a minimum of 25 to 30 years based on the solid construction that RISE Angola employs. This brings the cost down to $14 per student per year. That is an amazing return on investment. Adriano mentioned that we're raising money from Bolonguera tonight. The total cost of that school is going to be $245,000. But as he mentioned, there has been incredible generosity and support on behalf of the Shongoroi administration, and also through previous donations to RISE, we've already contributed $70,000, bringing the need down to $175,000. Another amazing, awesome, cool, whatever adjective you want to use, we've raised $53,000 in donations already for our benefit this evening, bringing the total need down to $122,000. We'd love to raise that this evening, and quite frankly more, because the need extends beyond Bolonguera, but we'll focus on Bolonguera to start. I ask that you partner with RISE and join me in making a contribution to RISE International tonight. This will have a meaningful impact today, and as we've discussed throughout the course of the evening, an impact that will last for generations. In a moment, we'll show another video. During the video, there will be a link to a donation page specific for this benefit. If you type in that link on any browser that has access to the internet, you'll be brought directly to that page and be able to make a contribution. Additionally, if you'd like, you could simply go to riseinternational.org. There will also be a link on the home screen that will take you to that specific donation page. Or checks work too. If you'd like to send a check in, please visit riseinternational.org for our mailing address. Whatever works, please join me in making a meaningful contribution. Thank you once again for joining us tonight. On behalf of the entire Rise International Board, Lynn Cole, Executive Director, and all the kids in Angola, we cannot express our gratitude enough. Thank you for being here. I hope that you see the link to the donation page right now. It was also put in the chat, and I promise we'll be in our final video this evening as well. So thank you for being here, for your generous support of the kids in Angola. And as a reminder, there's multiple ways to get involved and donate. Please feel free to visit the Rise International website at riseinternational.org to make a donation or figure out other ways that are meaningful to you to get involved. As we say goodbye for tonight, we invite you to watch this fun 3-minute video. And thanks again for being here, for all your help and support. Have a good evening.
Obrigada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, good, very nice.